An absolute ruthless corporate execution just went down behind closed doors, and the global music industry is currently in a state of total paralyzed horror. We thought the feud between Drake and Rick Ross was just limited to diss tracks and social media memes. But what Drake just pulled off using his massive corporate leverage has officially set off a nuclear bomb in the entertainment world. Capitalizing on Rick Ross's disastrous album rollout, which suffered a catastrophic commercial collapse by moving the dismal 2,000 pure copies while World Tour venues sat over 80% empty. Drake decided he wasn't just gonna laugh. The Six Gods stepped into the boardrooms and officially blacklisted Rick Ross from the entire music industry. We are talking about direct high-level pressure applied to major record label boards, streaming service executives, and global radio networks to completely pull Ross's playlist support, block any future major distribution deals, and ban major artist collaborations with Maybach Music Group forever. Ross' entire multi-million-dollar empire is officially on the brink of total annihilation, and his legal team has just entered a state of frantic emergency panic to fight this end before his legacy is erased. Stay right where you are, because what Drake filed at the 5-minute mark changes everything forever. To truly grasp the catastrophic career-ending scale of this latest fallout, you have to examine how the balance of power between these two rap titans completely shifted over the last decade. This isn't just a sudden disagreement over social media posts. This is the complete horrific disintegration of one of the most commercially successful and culturally iconic partnerships in modern hip-hop history. For over a decade, Drake and Rick Ross weren't just casual collaborators. They were an unkillable hit-making machine. Every time these two stepped into a recording booth together, magic happened. From timeless classics like Aston Martin Music, Lord Knows, and Stay Schmeemin', to massive chart-topping anthems like Gold Roses and Money in the Grave, the synergy between Drake's smooth melodic hooks and Rick Ross's booming luxury-obsessed baritone defined an entire era of wealth. They called each other brothers. They shared private jets, vacationed on yachts in Miami, and routinely referred to their combined output as the gold standard of the culture. For years, Rick Ross benefited immensely from his alliance with OVO. Drake brought a massive global pop crossover audience straight to Maybach Music Group. Whenever Ross needed a guaranteed hit single to power an album rollout, Drake was always there to deliver a verse that would rack up hundreds of millions of streams. In return, Ross provided Drake with street credibility, heady cosigns, and an aura of untouchable boss-level luxury. However, beneath the surface of platinum plaques, a silent, bitter friction was slowly taking root. As Drake transformed into the most commercially dominant music artist on planet Earth, breaking Billboard records previously held by the Beatles, Rick Ross began struggling to maintain his position in a rapidly evolving streaming-dominated music landscape. The shift from physical CD sales to digital algorithms left many legacy artists vulnerable, and Ross was forced to rely heavier and heavier on his Drake collaborations to secure top-tier chart placement. The fragile brotherhood finally shattered into a million pieces during the explosive 2024 rap wars. When the entire industry lined up to fire shots at Drake, Rick Ross did what many considered the ultimate betrayal. He picked a side against his longtime brother. Ross jumped into the ring, dropping a diss track titled Champagne Moments, mocking Drake's appearance, questioning his authenticity, and coining the derogatory nickname BBL Drizzy. Ross went on a non-stop social media trolling campaign, posting videos wearing custom caricatured t-shirts, laughing at OVO, and declaring that the Sixth God was officially dethroned. Drake, known for his surgical long-term memory, played the waiting game. He didn't rush into an immediate physical confrontation or engage in endless back-and-forth Instagram live streams. Drake understood a fundamental rule of the modern music business. Revenge is a dish best served when your enemy's balance sheet is exposed. Drake waited patiently in the shadows, monitoring Ross's career trajectory, tracking his streaming analytics, and waiting for the exact moment when the Maybach empire would show an irreversible point of commercial weakness. That moment arrived with the release of Rick Ross's latest studio album alongside his heavily hyped world tour. Ross pitched the project as his grand victory lap, promising fans that he didn't need Drake or major label backing to prove he was still the biggest boss. But when the official first-week sales data hit industry tracking databases, the results were an absolute horror show. The album moved a shockingly low 2,000 pure sales, a figure so tragically low for a legacy icon that it sent shockwaves through every corporate boardroom in the music industry. To make matters infinitely worse, venue seating maps for Ross' global tour showed massive 10,000-seat arenas sitting over 80% empty, forcing promoters to issue desperate buy one, get 50% off ticket discounts just to get bodies and seats. 50 Cent was the first to attack, mercilessly roasting Ross's low numbers in empty venues. But Drake saw an opening to go far beyond social media memes. Drake realized that Ross was no longer protected by massive hit records or heavy consumer demand. The Maybach brand was financially vulnerable, exposed, and bleeding money. Instead of just laughing, Drake decided to weaponize his massive corporate influence. He set out to ensure that Rick Ross would never be allowed to secure a major distribution deal, top a streaming playlist, or feature a top-tier artist ever again. The corporate execution officially began in the quiet hours of Tuesday morning. It didn't start with an Instagram story or a diss track. It started with high-level confidential legal and executive notices dispatched directly from Drake's powerhouse legal team and corporate representatives to the heads of major digital streaming platforms, record label conglomerates, and global radio syndicates. Drake weaponized his status as the single highest streaming artist in digital history. The message sent behind closed doors was brutal, direct, and completely uncompromising. If your platform or label continues to prioritize, distribute, or facilitate major promotional partnerships for Maybach Music Group, OVO SAO will reevaluate its exclusive catalog placements, licensing agreements, and future release rollouts with your parent company. Read that again. Drake put the entire music industry in a position where they had to choose between his billions of annual streams or Rick Ross's flopping album. The impact was immediate, brutal, and catastrophic. At 10:00 a.m., an internal document leaked from inside a major digital streaming service. The memo revealed that Rick Ross's new album tracks had been quietly stripped from over 40 major editorial playlists, including flagship hip-hop and rap rotation lists that drive millions of daily streams. Algorithm placements were artificially suppressed, effectively choking off the digital traffic to Ross's new music. When news of the playlist removals broke online, Drake launched a victory lap on social media that sent shockwaves through the culture. Drake posted a cryptic photo on his Instagram story showing himself sitting in a high-powered executive boardroom wearing a custom OVO ring holding a cup of coffee and captioning it with terrifying precision. "The algorithms don't lie, Ricky." When the real numbers come out, the corporate doors close automatically. Zipper mouth face ripped to the Maybach myth. It's officially over. The comment sections erupted into total unbridled chaos. The optics were completely horrifying. For 15 years, Ross had called himself the biggest boss, but Drake was actively demonstrating who actually controlled the global music machine. Inside Rick Ross's camp at the Promised Land estate in Georgia, total unadulterated panic took over. Sources close to Maybach Music Group reported that Ross was hit with a barrage of frantic phone calls from his distributor, his road manager, and international promoters, all reporting the exact same nightmare. Streaming numbers had cratered overnight. Radio stations were pulling single ads and upcoming distribution meetings were being abruptly canceled. Ross was trapped in a nightmare. He was facing the total collapse of his public and corporate infrastructure in real time. Driven by pure rage, humiliation, and desperation, Ross took to his Instagram stories to fight back, broadcasting live from his private study while wearing a silk robe and holding a cigar. "Drake, you playing dirty corporate games because you can't touch me in the booth?" Ross sneered, his voice visibly shaking with intense rage. "You running to white executives in boardrooms begging them to pull my playlists? That's what a police informant does. You using corporate leverage because you scared of what happens when real independent artists stand up? You a whole puppet in a suit." Ross tried to reframe Drake's blacklisting campaign as a cowardly corporate move, accusing Drake of using dirty mainstream tactics to silence authentic hip-hop pioneers. Ross claimed that Maybach Music Group was 100% independent and that no corporate blacklist could stop him from making music for his core fan base. "I own my land, I own my Wingstops, I own my catalog," Ross shouted into the camera, trying desperately to maintain his boss persona. "You can't ban a real billionaire, Drake. We don't need your playlists. We going straight to the streets." It was supposed to be a powerful, defiant stand. But just as Ross finished his live rant, an unexpected, catastrophic twist dropped that turned his brave speech into an absolute disaster. A prominent music law publication released a verified leaked corporate memo originating from a major record label distribution network, explicitly confirming that their executive board had officially placed a permanent moratorium on all future distribution and marketing deals with Maybach Music Group. The announcement meant that no major record label conglomerate would touch Rick Ross's catalog, distribute his upcoming artist releases, or provide multi-million-dollar advances for MMG projects, pending the corporate audit. Drake's campaign hadn't just stripped Ross's playlists. It had successfully severed Ross's access to major record label capital. 50 Cent immediately chimed in from the sidelines, reposting the distribution ban memo with 20 laughing emojis, writing, "I told you, Drizzy, he can't even get a CV distributed. The jig is officially up." Panic inside Ross's inner circle reached an all-time high. Staff members were seen rushing in and out of his estate as emergency legal meetings were called to draft a massive federal antitrust lawsuit against Drake. But right as Ross lawyers were preparing the paperwork, an even bigger leak surfaced that left the entire industry speechless. The news of the major distribution moratorium and playlist blacklisting sent shockwaves across the entire music and entertainment ecosystem. News outlets, financial blogs, and hip-hop reaction channels went into complete overdrive, analyzing whether Drake had actually pulled off the first successful corporate-driven ban of a legacy superstar in modern rap history. The hashtags number 1, 2, and 3 globally across X, TikTok, and Instagram. Then came the second massive unexpected twist that escalated this corporate war into a terrifying legal thriller. At 2:30 p.m., an investigative entertainment reporter published a bombshell report containing leaked internal communications between a high-ranking executive at a global music publishing group and Drake's legal team. The documents revealed that Drake's blacklisting campaign wasn't just based on executive pressure. It was backed by a deeply calculated legal clause revolving around unfulfilled master licensing agreements and co-ownership rights tied to their past collaborative mega hits. According to the leaked documents, Drake's legal team had uncovered a contractual clause from their early catalog collaborations that gave OVO partial approval rights over how those joint assets were commercialized in future catalog deals. Because Ross had allegedly breached non-disparagement and brand integrity clauses by launching the BBBL Drizzy campaign, Drake's legal team formally froze all commercial licensing clearances for any project, compilation, or live broadcast that included tracks like Aston Martin Music, Gold Roses, or Lord Knows. Read that again. Drake didn't just ask labels to reject Ross. He legally locked Rick Ross out of commercializing his own biggest hits. Every time a label or streaming service attempted to package or monetize Ross's legacy catalog, Drake's legal team issued an immediate cease and desist, rendering Ross's catalog asset portfolio virtually unmarketable to major corporate buyers. The sheer diabolical genius of the move left the entire industry in absolute stunned silence. Drake hadn't just blocked Ross's new album. He had effectively frozen the commercial value of Ross's past legacy. Drake immediately capitalized on the bombshell revelation, dropping a short video on Instagram, sitting in his luxury Toronto mansion, sipping champagne, and looking directly into the lens with a cold, victorious smile. "You built your whole brand on my hooks, Ricky," Drake said softly into the camera. "And when you bit the hand that fed you, the kitchen closed permanently. Enjoy the silence." The internet completely exploded. The revelation that Rick Ross was legally blocked from commercializing the biggest records of his career turned the entire situation into the most embarrassing, humiliating defeat in hip-hop history. Memes depicting Rick Ross standing outside locked record label doors with an empty briefcase flooded every single social media platform. The Biggest Boss image was completely, utterly pulverized inside Rick Ross camp. Absolute total breakdown occurred. Sources inside the Maybach Music executive office reported that Ross's top financial advisors advised him to immediately halt all promotional activities and prepare for a massive legal battle to prevent complete corporate insolvency. Ross was facing complete financial and professional checkmate. If he tried to release music independently, he lacked playlist support and major distribution. If he tried to sell his catalog, Drake's legal team blocked the licensing clearances. Driven to the absolute brink of desperation, Rick Ross's legal team issued an emergency late-afternoon press release, announcing that they were filing a multi-million-dollar federal lawsuit against Drake for tortious interference with business relations, illegal restraint of trade, and predatory corporate blacklisting, begging a federal judge to issue an immediate injunction against Drake's corporate campaign. The press release claimed that Drake was using weaponized monopoly power to destroy an independent artist's livelihood and permanently ban him from the commercial marketplace. But just as the public was waiting to see if a judge would intervene, Drake's legal team dropped a single, terrifying one-sentence response that left everyone frozen in suspense. "We welcome the court filing because formal discovery will require Rick Ross and Maybach Music Group to submit their complete, unedited internal streaming metrics, ticket sales receipts, and corporate debt disclosures under federal court oath." The threat was lethal. If Ross pursued the lawsuit, he would be forced to lay bare his exact, embarrassing financial data in public federal court records for the entire world to see. The entire global media landscape went into an absolute frenzy as the blacklisting war reached its peak. The debate over Drake's ruthless corporate tactics divided the internet into two fiercely combative, unapologetic camps. On one side, Number Team Drake and OVO loyalists celebrated what they viewed as the ultimate definitive masterclass in strategic payback. Fans flooded social media praising Drake as a cold-blooded strategic genius who turned a rap feud into a total corporate execution. Drake gave Rick Ross his biggest hits for 10 years. Ross turned on him and Drake literally erased his corporate infrastructure. One viral tweet with over 220,000 likes read, "This is the most ruthless payback in music history. You don't bite the hand that feeds your entire catalog." On the opposing side, Number Team Ross and several independent music advocacy groups expressed deep horror over Drake's tactics, accusing him of creating a dangerous, toxic precedent that threatens the entire independent music ecosystem. If a global superstar can use his streaming dominance to force record labels and platforms to ban an independent artist, nobody is safe. An influential music blog argued, "Drake is abusing his corporate monopoly power to destroy a black-owned music empire. This isn't rap beef anymore. This is predatory corporate blacklisting." Major music executives and festival promoters held emergency private calls to discuss the situation. Industry insiders admitted off the record that Drake's campaign had effectively rendered Rick Ross commercially radioactive, with major brands quietly pulling out of sponsorship deals associated with Maybach Music Group events. Podcast hosts and legal analysts dedicated multi-hour live broadcasts to breaking down the legal mechanics of Drake's catalog licensing freeze, debating whether Ross could survive the financial strain of an extended federal court battle. The public was reaching an absolute fever pitch, hanging on every single social media update, waiting to see if Rick Ross would risk filing the federal injunction or if he would be forced to surrender his boss persona forever. Just when the world believed this corporate war had reached its absolute legal standstill, a brand new explosive development dropped that completely shattered every single expectation. At 5:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, an official corporate registry filing surfaced from the state of Florida, revealing that an undisclosed, newly formed investment group had just submitted a formal buyout offer to acquire the entire Maybach Music Group trademark, catalog rights, and distribution liabilities. The filing showed that the investment group had already acquired a controlling percentage of Maybach Music's underlying debt obligations from various financial lenders, positioning them to take full corporate ownership of the brand if Ross defaults on his upcoming liability payments, and who is listed as the principal managing director of that investment group. A high-powered corporate attorney who serves as the chief legal counsel for OVO Sound and Drake personally. Read that again. Drake isn't just banning Rick Ross from the music industry. He is actively trying to buy and own the Maybach Music Group brand itself. If the buyout goes through, Drake will officially become the legal owner of the name Maybach Music, the catalog, and the master rights to Rick Ross's career. The realization hit the culture like an atomic bomb. Drake is on the literal verge of owning the very empire that Rick Ross spent 20 years building. Sources close to Rick Ross report that upon learning of the trademark buyout filing, Ross went completely silent, canceled all remaining media appearances, and retreated deep inside his Promised Land estate with his core legal team. As the news spread, Drake posted a final, terrifying 6-second video on his Instagram story. He was sitting in an executive boardroom, wearing a tailored suit, holding a leather-bound folder labeled Maybach Music Group Acquisition, and smiling with a cold, victorious gaze. Drake didn't say a single word. He simply tapped the folder with his OVO ring, looked into the lens, and let the screen fade to dark black. This is no longer a feud. This is a total historical corporate hostile takeover. Will Rick Ross find the way to block the buyout before Drake takes ownership of Maybach Music? Or is the biggest boss about to lose his entire legacy to his worst enemy forever? Stay locked in because part 2 of this historic corporate war is dropping next, and the music industry will never be the same. We are watching absolute history unfold in real time, and this corporate war between Drake and Rick Ross has officially reached a terrifying, historic peak. Now, I want to hear directly from you. Do you think Drake went way too far by using his corporate power to blacklist Rick Ross from streaming platforms and record labels? Or is this just the ultimate payback for Ross's betrayal during the rap wars? Will Rick Ross survive this hostile takeover? Or is the Maybach empire officially over? Drop your raw, unfiltered thoughts in the comments section right now. I am going to be down in the comments, replying to the best responses over the next couple of hours. So, let's get the debate going. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and get instant breaking news alerts the exact second Ross's legal team responds, or Drake executes the trademark buyout, you need to take action right now. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and turn on all notification bells so you never miss a single second of this escalating war. We have emergency sources tracking every legal filing in Florida, Toronto, and Los Angeles. And our next emergency breakdown video is dropping very soon. Don't get left behind.